Audio Jungle.
Welcome to CLA's How to Start a Laundromat webinar. We're looking forward to spending the next 90 minutes with you talking about how to buy or build your first laundromat. We are coming to you as the association for laundromat operators, and we have been doing this for a long time now, right? So we've been doing this for 65 years, and we're a nonprofit organization, agnostic when it comes to equipment and brands. We're just here to serve you as a potentially future laundromat owner. And like most trade associations, we focus on things like education and networking, representing the industry from a legislative standpoint. We have a number of business services that we'll be able to share with you along the way. So just making sure that we've got a lot of things available that could be helping you kind of progress through the business. Next up, I wanted to say who we are. So I am very honored to be your host. My name is Brian Wallace. I serve as president and CEO of CLA. I've got 33 or so years in the industry. I love this business, and I'm not an operator. I'm the academic in the room. This has been really my professional focus for more than 3 decades, and I've had the honor and pleasure of working with many thousands of laundromat operators over the years, and try to do my best to listen up, try to gather up those best practices and synthesize that back for all of you. And with that in mind, I've got a very special guest with us today. Yvette Morton-Williams is a dynamite store owner, multi-store operator from Atlanta. She is a member of our executive committee, as a volunteer leader. And Yvette, it's delightful to have you back once again.
Well, Brian, as always, it's my pleasure to join you and to join this conversation. So I appreciate the invitation. Look forward to a great 90 minutes. Hopefully, we've got some great questions coming up, and I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, and just maybe from the top, Yvette, kind of give everyone a little outline of your operation there in Atlanta, just to kind of give everybody a little bit of a touch point, and maybe an opportunity to steer some of their questions your direction
Sure.
as we go along.
Sure, absolutely. So, Brian mentioned that we've been doing this 65 years, and I just want to say, not me. I've not been
No,
around
of course not.
65 years, right? I may look like it, but I am not a 65-year operator, but 16 years. And I've been in Atlanta all of that time. My husband and I came to Atlanta from New Jersey and got a first store, 5,000 square foot store, and it was already in operation with 2-year-old equipment, which was great. So we had relatively new equipment and nice long lease and hit the ground running. And I had really no idea what I was doing. I joined the CLA the moment we got the keys for the new place. And if I knew then what I know now, I would have done that much sooner in the process and taken advantage of all of the great information that's available in the industry and just by networking with others. We went from one store to the second store. It took quite a while to get store number 2, and that was about 7 years later. And since then, we now have 5 stores, and they're all Metro Atlanta. And I've been a CLA board member for, this is my 6th year as a CLA board member, and that has been an incredible experience and certainly an honor to be able to serve in that capacity with this association. So I'm happy to be here, and this is a great industry, and I imagine that if you're here on the call, you know that, or you think that. I can't wait to hear more about all of you and see how you have progressed in your journey. Are you just kind of poking around right now? Have you jumped in? And in whichever of those buckets you fall in, I want to say congratulations on making a great choice and being here and continuing the path and learning, because even at 16 years, as an operator. I'm still learning all the time. So
Absolutely. No, and then thank you so much, Yvette. You've added so much value as a volunteer and a great operator. And again, this is a great opportunity for everybody tuning in to tap into your expertise. Just keep an eye on the chat and the Q&A box. Yes, we are recording, so you will have an opportunity to circle back on this, and we'll share some of additional resources here at the end. And I'd love to have this wide array of folks joining us from all over the world. Super exciting. And, we're, again, very happy to be sharing with you. So let's do a little table setting, okay? There's a lot to cover. We can't teach you a whole industry even in 90 minutes. So we're going to stay focused on a couple of things. We're really here to provide education. We're here to not sell you on the business. We're here to talk to you about the business from a expert and preeminent resource standpoint. We want to give you information you can rely on, and really it's up to you. If you want to pursue this further, we have lots of ways that we can help you. If you decide it's not for you for whatever reason, that's great. We feel like we've achieved our mission too. And we're really just here to tell it like it is. And if it is your dream to move forward, then we're going to be with you hand in hand. If you're on this, you probably have seen a lot of conversation about the laundromat industry on social media, particularly in the last year or two or three. It's really become kind of a cause celeb where people are all of a sudden very interested in our sleepy little business. So what we're not here to do is to find you a store in 30 days or 15 days. We're not going to make you a millionaire overnight. We're not going to find you a free laundromat. We're not going to talk to you about an absentee or passive investment. We're not going to find you seller financing. But really what we're here is to kind of cut through some of the hype and hyperbole and give you the true vision of the business based on a lot of years of experience and time spent with really the best operators. So if you're on board with that, you're in the right place, and we look forward to starting to deliver on that right now. Another reminder is that we are certainly going to take your questions here along the way. And please put those into the Q&A box, and we'll also try to keep an eye on the chat as best we can. So let's go ahead and jump in. Maybe start with kind of the 30,000 foot view of the industry. So what we have here is a business that is about 29,000 locations around the U.S., mostly all independently owned and operated. And when we say laundromat, coin laundry, coin op laundry, laundrette, washateria, lavanderia, these are all the same thing we're talking about, kind of a retail store that has equipment available on a self-service basis for customers and clients. In that vended laundry space, the one section that we're really not covering for you is the apartment laundry, multi-housing laundry space, where you might find vended laundry equipment in an apartment or dormitory or that type of setting. So we're really talking about the retail business. We think that projects out to the better part of $8 billion a year. So maybe the industry is a little bit bigger than you may have thought, but laundry is an essential service, and so there are a lot of our locations out there. Over the course of this, we're going to be referencing a number of statistical touch points, and that all ties back to annual benchmarking surveys that we do here at the association. So that's another resource that could be available to you. We'll talk to you a little bit more about how to join the organization as time goes on, but that's where we source this 2,910 square foot number. And this number, as a mean, has been rising each and every year. Laundromats can range from as small as 800 or 1,000 square feet, and we see plenty of stores these days that might be at 8 or 10 or even 12,000 square feet. And I think in a manner of speaking, these stores are scaled based on the need in the neighborhood. What is the market demand? What are people looking for? So small stores you'll find in rural areas, those 10 or 12,000 square foot spaces you'll find in dense urban areas. And Yvette You mentioned to the group having 5 locations. Maybe you can talk us through a little bit of the variance in square footage and give people a little better flavor of what store size means in terms of your success.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I mentioned, the first store was at that time it was a big store. At this time, it's really not considered that big anymore. And the that was just under 5,000 square feet. And then our next place was in the twos, maybe 2,600. We've got over 3,000 square foot. Another one that's well over 5,000, and then a little tiny store that's under 2,000 square feet. And so, as you can see, we are touching many of the ranges or within that range that you talked about. And certainly what you said, the larger stores in a good location will definitely be more of money makers. And but that doesn't mean that a smaller store that's in the perfect place can do very well. You'll be looking at, of course, more turns per day if you have a smaller place, but in a great location, and that's fine. It just will mean that you're making more money per square foot, and you may have more machine maintenance that comes as a result of it, but it's all good when the income matches that and it makes it all worth it. So I would say that for us, it's been more about making sure you choose the best location. And I would certainly encourage anybody to get the biggest place that they can afford as long as it's in a good location.
Yeah, that's very well said. And a lot of times, just kind of what's available will dictate the size of the store within a certain range.
Yes,
You find something
that
that's
too.
3,200 square feet. Well, you found something that's 3,700 square feet that was kind of in the same area, same price point, and you made it work, or a little
Right.
smaller, a little bigger, but within that range is kind of where a lot of people find themselves dialed in. I'd also point out that the majority of our members are leasing their space, meaning they are under a lease contract to occupy the space with the commercial real estate landlord. That is very common in the business, and we're certainly going to talk a lot about the importance of leases in the course of our conversation based on our experience. And but some of our members do own their locations, own the real
Mhm.
estate. I think most would love to be in that position or aspire to be in that position. And usually it's a factor of just the financial requirements or just simply what's available, right? A lot of times these laundromats are in small little shopping centers or strip malls, and it's not always available or feasible to acquire the real estate as opposed to a standalone location where you might purchase the real estate, put up your store, and take it from there. Kind of a rough rule is that I guess the more suburban or rural the location, the more likely your members are to own the real estate. I think that kind of follows logic. And I see a lot of members over time, as they get experience, start to look for those real estate opportunities more and more often as they start to kind of have their preferences about how they want to add additional locations. And then I just wanted to say a word about, kind of what we're here to do as an industry. Laundry is an essential service. Our customers are varied, and different stores can have different client bases. I think increasingly we get more of a mix of clients coming through. But if we had to really boil down to that core customer, it's typically a renter-occupied household, typically a lower to mid income household. Perhaps people that don't have access to a washer dryer or easy access to a washer dryer in their living space. And This is a large swath of the population, depending on the estimates, 20 million a week, or even as much as 10 to 15 to even 20% of the population overall. One thing I did want to note that we'll kind of come back to a few times also along the way is that we're finding ourselves appealing to more non-traditional customers, people that may have a home washer but are opting to use the laundromat because they look like Yvette stores. Bright, clean, well-equipped, welcoming, larger capacity machines, really selling the speed and convenience of getting it all done at once is a very appealing part of the top performing laundromats. So while we've traditionally been focused on strictly the folks that don't have a lot of options when it comes to doing laundry to coming out on top, even for customers that do have more options when it comes to doing laundry. So with that, we'll take a breath. I'm going to take a look at some of these questions and comments here. Yes, we are recording, folks, and we'll get through as many of these questions as we can. One of the things that comes up, anonymous, we need your name, anonymous. Uh, so what are some good first steps for people that want to enter the profession? Tips for finding existing businesses, scouting locations, and resources. So a couple things here that I'll just try to answer at a top level, and we'll get into it some more as we go along. Yeah, this is a very good step about getting started, just to try to get some research underneath you. Certainly, trying to find opportunities to visit local industry events is another very good starting point, whether that be a distributor, a sales event, or a local meetup through CLA, or just meeting other people in the industry is a very good starting place. Tips on finding existing businesses. This is something that is worth mentioning at some point, so we'll get into it now. The industry is very popular right now. It's hot right now. There are I don't know, 10x buyers to sellers these days. There's a lot of interest in the business. And so in terms of finding stores for sale, just a real quick list would be, of course, traditional business brokerage type websites like the BizBuySells and LoopNets. Certainly reaching out to local business brokers that take local listings. In a handful of your markets, you might even find laundromat business brokers if there's enough of a activity level in the industry to sort of justify that specialty. Certainly being in contact with the commercial laundry equipment distributors in your area. They certainly have their ears to the ground in terms of what's happening in the marketplace. We have a lot of folks today that are simply calling on existing operators. And Yvette, I don't know, maybe even 2 or 3 years ago, maybe you'd get someone stopping in or get a letter in the mail 2 or 3 times a year, but maybe not
It's
so much.
constant now. It's constant, right? With the phone calls, the letters, the emails, it's pretty regular.
Yeah, so again, we say none of this to be discouraging, right?
Right.
But we promised at the top to tell you the truth. You're not going to find something in 15 days or 30 days or find seller financing. It's once in a while you can find those opportunities, but for most, it's a bit of a grind, a bit of a arduous process to kind of go through identifying stores for sale, and then to a certain extent, again, just telling you the truth, the work kind of starts there. Trying to arrive at the right price, to do the due diligence, and then try to
Right.
execute on a sale. So it's okay, we can help you, but just understand that there is something to it when it comes to working your way through the process. You also
Absolutely. We
asked
found our
about,
first place, I'm sorry, on one of the business websites that you mentioned.
okay,
That's
so
how I
that's
found
where
the
you
first
found your
place.
first.
Absolutely. We were right there on Biz Buy Sell and found a place there, and it certainly can lead to laundromat. So
Yeah, so what you're saying, I agree, is it's an all the above strategy, right? Yeah, you really have
absolutely.
to, do all the above to try to find those locations. And then your last question there was about finding and getting planning information from distributors. So we'll refer you to laundryassociation.org several times, and maybe Andrew can put that link in the chat. We do have a directory, online searchable directory of distributors near you that you can tap into, and to help everyone better understand, well, what are these distributors? What do they do? Well, they essentially are the sales representatives of different brands or lines of washers and dryers. So they really are sales organizations, and they typically have either exclusive or authorized territories. So wherever you're dialing in from, there'll be a distributor for brand A, B, C, and D, and they will represent that from a sales standpoint. In our industry, distributors often also play a role of more of a business opportunities or business development standpoint, where they might also work with you on vetting locations, working through an equipment mix, working through a pro forma on a project, help you access financing, sell you the equipment. When it comes time to build out the store, they may act as a GC if you want them to, or they may be able to refer you to contractors that have experience in building out laundromats. Of course, they'll be involved in installation of equipment and getting you open for business. And so there's a wide variety of services that you can kind of work your way through
Sure.
to determine the right fit for you. But the distributors can play a very important role in the process.
And then possibly maintenance too. Once you're up and
Sure,
running, you may rely on
sure.
your distributor for ongoing maintenance as well.
Yeah, service
So,
contracts would certainly
mhm.
be common along the way. So thank you for that. Crystal in the chat, yes, we are recording. I know you had to join us a little bit late. All good. Nick from Toronto, what percentage of your net monthly income should be allocated towards an equipment loan if retooling an existing store? That's a good question, Yvette. I mean, there's some tried and true operating expense ratios that we'll share a little bit later on for things like rent and utilities and labor. I don't know how often I've really heard the equipment loan expressed as a percentage of net income. Any
I
thoughts
was
on
going to
that?
say that also. I haven't really heard it expressed as a percentage. I would say as low as possible.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
certainly low, but I would look at it from a slightly different perspective and consider what you think the revenue will be overall and what you need. Because if your situation will be very different if you're relying on income from this store to put a roof over your head versus if this is income that you don't need to put your hands on and you can allow it to sit for a while and grow and maybe use that for another location. But I haven't necessarily heard a percentage. So
yeah, no, I appreciate you bringing that up, Nick. I'm going to be thinking about that while we're
yeah,
talking. But I think Yvette's core point is absolutely right. Is that uh, typically for our members that are in what we'll call the debt service stage, whether they took on a loan to acquire the business or more likely took on a loan to equip or re-equip the business, is that it's not unusual that the net cash flow of all of that might be pretty modest for those first couple of years. And a lot of laundromat owners pop the champagne bottle when they've retired that debt service on that loan because the cash flow, grows pretty significantly at that point. So it's a very different situation if you're looking at this from more of an investment standpoint and something that you're willing to kind of grow with over time, as opposed to, all right, well, I need to replace my income and I need it to be
right.
X. So those are really two different ways of looking at what your needs are going to look like. Um, Christina, WDF is wash, dry, fold acronym. That is the kind of the full service part of that. Uh, Anonymous asked a question about having a new pickup and delivery. We have lots of resources on pickup and delivery, including a wash, dry, fold conference coming up later this year. Miriam's asking about first-time store owner with a smaller location. I think Yvette put it well. Get the biggest store you think you can afford. I think that's where a lot of people would be sort of calibrating that part of it. What should I look for when evaluating an existing laundromat for sale? Well, why don't we get into a little bit of that due diligence here a little bit later on? And that's a good initial pause for some questions. And let's get through some more of the prepared material. So what I want to do these next two sections to kind of tie back to our ethos at the top, which is to give you all the information and let you make some decisions, is I want to share with you some of the reasons we love the business, why our members are so excited, they can't wait to do more. But then I'm going to level that off with some of the challenges, kind of the headwinds, some of the pitfalls that people may run into with the business, just to kind of give you that level-headed look. But we'll take the prerogative of starting on the positive, which is, we provide an essential service to the community. This is not a fad. This is not a come and go type of thing. This is a regular, ongoing, consistent need that the community has for clean clothes. And so while some people may view it as boring or routine or a rut or a what have you, Yvette, it it meets
It's
those
all of
criteria.
that.
It,
It
it
can
meets
be
all
all
those
of that. On a
criteria.
good day, it's probably all of that.
Right.
Right.
So it's not a bad thing, right? That's what
Right.
people
It's
love
not.
about the business: steady, reliable, consistent.
Right.
And I think that as an experienced operator, you have to at some point kind of be on guard if
Yeah.
for that to turn into complacency or neglect, which those of you who have gone out to look at existing stores, you've probably seen some locations where that was the case. You know, it's not clean, is maybe all the equipment's not up and running the way it should be, but there is a danger there, I suppose. But I think it really is a positive for most of our members to look into. And part of that has been a track record of, while being impacted by recessions and pandemics in the past, but holding up pretty well during those periods. In the social media space, you'll hear recession proof. I don't believe that. I neither neither does Yvette, shaking her head. But recession resistant, holding up better than most things, absolutely. It's not easy during those periods. People do consolidate loads and maybe come less often and start to pinch pennies.
Yeah.
But that is one of the elements that people like. And part of this wave of interest that we had in the industry post-COVID was, entrepreneurs that were looking for something that they felt might be a little bit more stable, a little bit more resilient compared to some other things. We had restaurant owners, we had all kinds of folks that kind of came to us after that experience. So that seems to make sense to me. Simple but not easy is kind of the thing that I've kind of tracked back to over time, in basically saying that the keys to success are evident. They're easy to identify, what you need to be successful, but execution, like in most things, is where the challenge comes in. And again, if you've gone out to scout local laundromats by you, you probably see plenty of cases where the folks are not fully executing. And I'll let Yvette add to this list, but in my mind, those kind of self-evident keys to success are: it's got to be a great location. There's no overcoming a bad location. You can do some commercial accounts and wash, dry, fold, and go out and get the laundry and bring it to you, but self-service has to be in the good location. It has to be clean. After all these years, having a much cleaner store remains a differentiator, if you can believe that. And it certainly is the case. Equipment uptime, Yvette can tell you she's very diligent when it comes to machine maintenance and having that uptime at the maximum, and customer service. So how does that list look to you, Yvette?
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and all of those are super important. Location, of course, I would say would be number one, and but customer service, and that's can't be stressed enough. Happy people, people who enjoy where they are, who make people feel welcome when they come in, makes all the difference in the world. When I go into the store and I see my attendants laughing with people and they're asking about their children and the dance recitals, and it just warms my heart. I would never get mad and say, hey, put that down and go clean. I would never,
Right.
because people mention in the reviews that when they start mentioning attendance by name, that's when you know you've got a good thing going, and you want to encourage that at all costs.
Well, and I've been lucky enough to be into your stores a number of times, and that's absolutely the vibe. The vibe is good. People are positive, and it's not always easy. You get all kinds of folks walking into the store that might not be feeling the same way, but that's really a standout when it comes to really having your store set apart. And those first name call outs are always great. Now, here's another way for folks at home to think about this. Uh, Even a very well performing laundromat, those customers are going to be there for an hour and a half,
Right.
maybe 2 hours, how long it takes them to fold. So think about places you're spending 2 hours a week
Hmm.
in person as a customer. It better be a friendly environment, right? It better be convenient to get to. It better be clean. The equipment better work if you want to be successful over the long term.
Right.
Makes
And I
sense,
would
right?
also add to that list, and this is part of customer service, but not explicitly stated here, is a bathroom.
Oh,
Having
right.
restrooms. We see where people say, oh, I locked my bathroom. I couldn't stand what they did to it. And I'm scratching my head. For me, that's kind of like I turned off the lights in the store because I wanted to save the electricity bill. Like, yeah, you could do that, but what are you giving up on when you do that? So it's really good to have a bathroom, have it available for by your attendants even, or some way to access it. And I totally understand if you want to limit access, but it should be available and it should be clean and it should be welcoming. And think about the customers that are coming in. If you have mothers even with babies, do you have a changing table for them to use? Do you have a place for them to hang their bag on a hook when they're in there? Little things like that really stand out in customers' minds.
Very well said, Yvette. And on the CLA Spotlight channel on YouTube, which we'll give you a link for here in a few minutes, we always end up spending some time talking to the operators about the restroom, their
Mhm.
policies around it. And is it an operational challenge? Absolutely. Would it be
Absolutely.
easier to lock the door? Absolutely. But if you want to take care of customers, you find a way to make it work. So let's see here. Let's do one thing. Yeah. So, while you've heard us sort of reject this notion of passive or absentee, just because it connotes kind of a set it and forget it mentality, I think that Yvette could attest that, certainly over time, as you establish systems and get your team in place, you can find yourself spending less time at the store if that's your desire, and kind of working on your business as opposed to in the business. Um, but this notion that you show up once a week to collect the quarters is not accurate. We have members that do like to spend the equivalent of full time in the location. Others will be in the location not so often, but they'll do the back office work at home, all right, at their convenience in terms of accounting and marketing and some of the things in terms of managing employees. So, but what I do hear the most often, aside from profitability, no one's in this for the love of doing laundry, right? You've made an investment, taken a risk as an entrepreneur, you want to make a profit. But these lifestyle considerations, right? The having some flexibility. Yvette can attest, she's very involved as a volunteer with us, but also half a dozen other things where she loves to spend her time and give back to her community. So, do you buy this notion of there being some lifestyle flexibility related to operating a laundromat?
No, absolutely. That is right on the money. You are able to work how you want to work, mostly. There will be some things that will absolutely require that you be in a certain place at a certain time, but unlike many other professions, this is one that you have a larger degree of control over. And I work really hard, but I get to determine when I work and mostly, as I said,
Mhm.
and how I want to do it. And for me, I can do all-nighters. I'm kind of crazy like that, and I can get a lot of administrative stuff done. And then if I want to, well, especially when my children were younger, I never had to worry about missing games. I was at all of them and without having to provide excuses to anybody about why I couldn't be where. So that flexibility is enormous, and it may not be something that you'll have from day one, but absolutely something that if it's important to you, you can aspire and then make it happen.
Mhm.
But it's all about getting the systems in place and having the right people in place, particularly if you're running an attended location.
Very well said, and some great examples. And like I said, there's no one way to do it. We have very successful
Right.
members that put in 60 or 80 hours a week, but they're at the store 7 days. It's what they want. That's what they think they need to do. We have members that spend 5 or 10 hours a week, but they have accommodated for that. There's trade-offs to put yourself into that position, either additional staff or maybe a reduced array of services that you're offering, et cetera. But there are different ways to do it, and that flexibility is very popular. I think another element that's worth noting is that Yvette, who started with one store that she found on BizBuySell 16 years ago, has a set of some of the very best stores in the country. She did it,
I don't know about
with her
that.
team, with her husband, with a lot of hard work, but she did not need to be part of a major corporation or a franchise or something like that. Our individual members that are getting started even today are able to build world-class stores from the jump. And I think that is something that's very appealing in a very fragmented industry. Yes, there are some franchises now, and a lot of our members have opted for that.
Mm.
But there is no dominant player in the business. And I did this exercise with a group a week or so ago, Yvette, where I took every franchise location across 5 or 6 franchises. I add them all up, and it's about 125 locations on a population of 30,000. So I just want to give a little context and consideration. And if I look at individual companies or operators on that same population of 100,000, we maybe have 2 or 3 members that are closing in on 100 locations, but no one with 500 or 1,000 or 5,000 like you'd see in a lot of other industries. So just very fragmented by any definition. All right, let's go through some of the headwinds and challenges, and then we'll get caught up on some of your questions. Keep them coming. We really appreciate seeing those questions. That helps a lot. So why not laundromats? Why not?
Mhm.
Why might it not be the perfect fit for you? Because again, all small businesses, present their own challenges. So one thing we did address a little bit at the top is that one of the headwinds these days is absolutely finding locations, whether that's a business to acquire or a new location to build on. So it just means being disciplined, being patient to find that right opportunity. But we'll just tell you right off, it is a bit of a challenge these days when it comes to kind of a scarcity situation. And again, even historically, the best practice would be to be patient, be diligent, really hold out for the best opportunities. And that certainly is just something that's just more amplified these days
Right.
with the amount of interest that's out there. Another challenge that I'm sure Yvette could speak to that I always like to point out, and this is going to come with a piece of advice that'll follow it right after, is that make sure that this business is for you from the standpoint of your day to day. When you're in a lot of laundromat locations, they can be in under-resourced neighborhoods. They could be in tougher neighborhoods, and that's not a reason not to do it, but you need to kind of go in with eyes wide open and understand what you're signing up for and being able to take the right approach to make that happen. And it's not something we want to dwell on, Yvette, but we have sort of a front row seat for the ills that affect society, whether that's homelessness or addiction or other
Yeah.
challenges that people may have. And that's where I kind of give the advice is to go out and do laundry. So what would you say to folks that are maybe taking this um, opportunity to say, well, is this really a good fit for me as it relates to dealing with the public?
No, I agree with you, Brian, that you should go and spend some time in a laundromat and see what you think about it. If that is something that completely is unappealing to you, then this might not be a great fit for you because you would not want to be there. And if you are more prone to look at situations and get down because of who you see there, this might not be a good fit, I think. But I have seen some of the best and maybe some of the worst too, but mostly the best. It always amazes me how many just awesome people are out there, even when the surroundings are not necessarily that good. And I've noted this, and I think this is worth saying that having a laundromat and having bathrooms, we spoke about the importance of restrooms being available to the public. And we didn't always keep our bathrooms locked. We didn't. And even sometimes when they're locked and more controlled, you're still going to have some issues on them. You tend to see that people are dealing with a lot of things because they generally will show up in the restroom and you don't realize what's going on. But it can be rough if you enjoy fixing things and you can be a successful operator and never put your hands on a washing machine. I'm not saying that at all, but certainly if that is something that's in your wheelhouse or you enjoy it, you might find lots of opportunities in a location with what 30, 60, 100, 120, 200 pieces of equipment in there. I assure you there's always going to be an opportunity to fix something. So if you like that, that would be good. But
Yeah, very,
definitely the
yeah.
the location and finding a uh, one that will be 100% appealing all of the time based on what's there. that's going to be very, very challenging and not realistic. So,
Well, of course, if you worked any kind of retail in your life, you know that
yeah.
dealing with the public can be challenging, but go out and do some laundry.
Yeah, you said a great thing earlier about it may not be the best day for a lot of people, and we talked to our attendants about that a lot. Keep that in mind. People, very few people wake up and say, "Oh, I can't wait to go to the laundromat today. I want to go do my laundry." You don't hear that. So recognize that people are doing something that they may not love to do, and sometimes, depending on population, your smile may be the only one they see that day and look at it from what you can bring to them. I think that that'll be better for uh, for my sanity anyway when I do it.
Very well said. And in the meantime, folks, put 2 loads of towels in your trunk of your car
Yep,
and go stop and do laundry everywhere you can. And you're going to learn what you like, what you don't like. If it's in your
absolutely.
neighborhood, you're going to start creating a little bit of a competitive analysis. And you might even find an opportunity that comes your way from stopping in and doing laundry. So please consider doing that. But the number one challenge that I've run into with, again, many thousands. We had 1,600 people that took this course last year that we're taking right now, is really, that initial cash investment. Now, like I said, some folks, you're ready to go with financing and you're good to go. But I wanted to kind of give you some, context. We're trying to understand what your needs are going to be, and then we'll talk about financing here in a few minutes. So, it's pretty evident on existing laundromats for sale. You'll see them listed for a couple 100,000. You'll see them listed for a couple million. And obviously that's a function of, the cash flow and what the business potential is. And in most of the typical financing options that are available today, you're going to be looking at needing 30, maybe as much as 40% of that asking price in cash in order to access the financing that you're going to need to complete that purchase. So if it's $1 million store, you're going to need 300 or 400,000 in cash. Now there's some example or some exceptions to that. We'll talk about SBA in a moment, a few other things, but that gives you kind of a calibration point. On a new store, and I'm going to give lots of asterisks here, but I don't want to tell you getting the money together is the biggest challenge and not give you any context to kind of figure out what that looks like for you. So for the purpose of this statistic, we're going to talk about no real estate. We're working in an existing space that we're leasing. We are going to either take a vanilla box or convert a space that's being used for something else into a laundromat. So that's the construction, the utilities, the buying the equipment itself, having it installed, and be open for business. I think if you start at $300 or $400 a square foot, that would get you kind of a ballpark of what you need to be looking at. There are local differences. There are places that have impact fees on the construction of new laundromats, would be one outlier example. But if you tie that back to the statistical mean earlier, which was just under 3,000 square feet, yes, I mean, kind of a typical store today would be $1,200,000, $1,400,000, $1,500,000, depending on the marketplace. And that doesn't include owning the real estate. That's just building out in that particular space. So I just want to give you some context of what it needs. And again, maybe some of you are ready to write a check and you're good to go. But more of you, in my experience, are going to have to do some cobbling together and some bootstrapping and some getting creative to pull the financing together. And like I said, we'll talk about that a bit more in a few minutes. But before we get into laundromat valuation, which I know is a popular question for those of you looking to buy an existing store, let me try to jump back into some of the questions here to see if I can be helpful to you. Well, Desiree asks a good but tough question. How long did it take to become profitable? I'll kind of start and then let Yvette kind of finish off on that. And we'll just put it in the context of a new build out, which would be the most common example for this particular question. I would say, it takes most people 6 months to a year to kind of get a ramping up happening of a new location where you need to do the marketing, you need to get people to find you. One of the sobering thoughts is that while you very likely have built a better place to do the wash, laundry is a habit, and people takes time to break them of that habit, give them the opportunity to give you a try, and then hopefully sort of matriculate into becoming a regular customer. So Yvette, when you look at a new opportunity, what do you think is a reasonable amount of time to kind of allow for a ramping up and becoming profitable, at least at the operating expense standpoint, maybe putting aside the debt service?
Putting aside the debt service, I would say that I don't disagree with what you said. Anywhere from 6 months to a year, that definitely is within range. And you may hit a home run and be there a lot faster. And then unfortunately, some won't get there within that year of time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Hmm.
And I think one of the big takeaways there is that when you're putting your business plan together, as I like to say, you can't open the store with your last dollar, right?
No.
You need to have a contingency there, not only to kind of support operations while that store ramps up, but you're going to need to do the marketing. You're going to need to do the hiring. You're going to need to do a lot of things to kind of get your store up and running. And so that's something that you can work through in the business plan stage. So Desiree, it depends how long it takes to become profitable. Each store is a little bit different in that. Lavandia, CLA member, thank you. We love having you as a member. And you're asking about a new pickup and delivery. And you're trying to avoid errors because you don't have a location yet. So I think what Lavanda is referring to is a growing group that we're seeing of folks that are creating kind of a homegrown, if you will, laundry service, and maybe out there marketing laundry services and then using excess capacity at another laundromat as a way of sort of processing or being the production partner. And, so I think, yeah, and many of you that have done that have sort of graduated toward either building a dedicated production facility, small laundry plant, or a laundromat of your own that could be both open to the public, but also a place for you to process those orders. So Lavandia, as a member, I'll call this out as a highlight, is that you are very welcome to put some time on my calendar for a personal consultation, and I'd be happy to walk through the ins and outs of that with you. And for those of you that are considering jumping into this and becoming a member, that is one of the resources that we make available, are one-on-one consultations. And I've got a lot of friends like Yvette that offer great advice too. So
Well, I would say this, Brian. I'm so glad you mentioned that. And if you are on this call and you are a member of the CLA and you have not yet scheduled your time with Brian, you are really missing out. And if you aren't a member of the CLA yet and you are here, you probably are seeking information. And I would encourage you to join the CLA and make sure you take advantage of that. Brian is so knowledgeable, and as personable as he is here, he's even more so on a one-on-one basis. So you will get great information, learn from somebody who's been in the business for 30 plus years and who meets regularly with many top operators and distributors. So he's got view from every angle all over, and you probably will make a friend too. So
well, thank you for that, Yvette. And again, I just try to spend time with smart people like Yvette and try to share that back with all of you. So please take advantage of that. Thomas is asking about, how do I find the statistics on how many people rent in the proposed area, income levels, et cetera? So this is a good question, Thomas. So we'll call that a demographic report. I think that's how most people would refer to this. This would be getting a statistical view of the half mile, mile and a half radius or 2 mile radius around a existing location or a proposed location. And we have great white papers and best practice guides on demographics to help you do that. The distributors who we've mentioned are adept at helping you interpret a demographic report. In terms of accessing that yourself, there are a lot of online resources that will run demographic reports. Sometimes even your Chamber of Commerce will have that available, or your distributor will have reports they can share with you. Or there's couple services off the top of my head. Easy Demographics, EASI, Easy Demographics, idealspot.com is another one. There's a lot of them out there, but what you're really talking about is finding a demographic report. And then that gets you the raw information. But the key is how do you take that raw information and interpret it? That's kind of the art versus the science, into making sure that you can assess how much business is available in that particular marketplace. You're welcome, Christina. See that Desiree has another question, but let's pick up a few more slides, and then I'll keep an eye on some more of these questions. We've got 30 minutes or so remaining, so we'll make sure we get into some more good stuff. All right. Laundromat valuation is a 3-hour topic that we're going to do in 3 minutes, but we're going to give you enough starter points where you can do some more research on your own. Again, we have best practice guides, videos, consultations that we can do for you as a member on valuation basics. But laundromats are typically valued at an annualized multiple of the net income. And there's a lot of different ways to define net income. I would say kind of an operational net. In other words, the top line revenue versus the operational expenses, excluding debt service, excluding any compensation to you as the owner. Just how is the store netting out? And once we determine that, historically, most of the stores have sold in a multiple of 3 times that annual net. Maybe as high as 5 times the ultimate, the higher end of that range of the net income. And as a general update, valuations are running higher these days based on that demand that I shared with you. But I think it's more important to focus on what are the things that contribute to that value. That's what I want you to take away, more so than a 3 times net or 4 times net or 2 times or 6 times. The stores are really driven by the net income. Bigger stores tend to get a little higher premium, okay? But the age and condition of the equipment and the terms and duration of the lease. And so if you think about kind of how a store is put together, let's start with leases. You can't really pick up and move a laundromat, right? That's a expert level process, an expensive process. You really don't want to pick up and move. Therefore, if the store is cash flowing, okay, it's protected by a lease for a finite period of time. You've got 5 years left on a lease. You've got 12 years left on a lease. Better yet, you've got 20 years left on a lease. And so the lease is really what unlocks you or a future buyer to continue to enjoy that cash flow going forward. Okay, so the lease cost is important to keep that in line, but duration and future options are even more important in this concept of you can't pick up and move. So the second factor is equipment. Equipment is expensive. Equipment wears out after time. And oftentimes you see stores for sale with old or ancient equipment because that operator didn't put their hands on the wheel and decide to recapitalize or re-equip the business during that period of time. So doing new equipment on a store, that might be $500,000. It might be $800,000. It could be $1 million to retool a store. So therefore, you want to inform your offer based on these 2 important factors. So putting it another way, the longer the lease, the newer the equipment, the more the store is worth. The shorter the lease, the older the equipment, the less that store is worth. Does that make sense? Right? So you really need to interpolate those factors and understand them really well to really get to a point of understanding where you want to be with that. But at some point, you need time left on the lease, and at some point, you need years left on that equipment. And you can't afford to pay up for a store that needs to be re-equipped right away or that the lease is going to run out in the near term. So, Yvette, any finer points or refinements you'd make on that?
Man, you said it, and doesn't mean you won't purchase a store with older equipment, but keep that in mind as you are buying it. And if you are particularly handy and know how to get it done, then you'll be better off than buying a store with older equipment. And like me, no experience in fixing anything and having everything break down, and then your income drops considerably. And with the lease, this is not the time to save costs. I would highly recommend you have an attorney review it, unless you're well versed in commercial leases, because there can be things in there that if you overlook them, you will regret overlooking them down the road. So just know what you're getting, all of it, not just the years and the time, but if they have clauses in there that they can move you if they want to. Look out for things like that. And if you are in a shopping plaza, make sure that they have something in there saying they won't put another laundromat in there. Not likely they would, but you'd hate to overlook something
We've
that
seen
didn't
it happen.
explicitly
We have
that
certainly seen
right.
it
Yeah,
happen.
it can happen.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Yeah.
So just when you think about valuation, just understand those factors. And
Yeah.
then there's a thing of comps, right? I mean, just like on value of a home. I know a number of you weighed in from Atlanta, Yvette's in Atlanta. Atlanta's going to be a little bit higher on the comps these days. Parts of Florida, et cetera. So you really have to, kind of understand what's going on in those marketplaces. So next up, I wanted to tap into some of the financing options because that's a common question. We've touched on a few of these things, but let's just kind of work that through and then we'll jump back into some more of your questions. As I said earlier, most of you are going to have to sort of get creative and cobble together multiple sources. So let's talk about what those look like commonly for first-time laundromat owners. Yes, some of you will go the conventional bank route. Either you've got some good community banks near you, you've got some banks near you that like SBA lending and are experienced with that.
Mhm.
Maybe some of you are in other businesses already and have an existing banking relationship. Awesome. Definitely tap into those things. The SBA route can offer you some things like a lower down payment and maybe longer terms, but it also has some other hooks on it in terms of some of the guarantees and the requirements for business experience and a few other things. But just understand that that's one of the options that will go through the process. A large chunk of the financing that I see with the members that cross my desk are what we'll call captive lenders or laundromat-specific industry lenders. And these are often uh, owned or closely affiliated with some of the equipment manufacturers, and it's sort of a self-created ecosystem to help facilitate the sale of the equipment, which is, as we said earlier, is a large capital expenditure. And there are also some independents that specialize in laundromat financing and work closely with the equipment manufacturers in unison to help kind of bring these things to the table. So that is a lot of what I see is going through this industry path. And if you think about it, a lot of conventional banks don't do a lot of small business lending. They certainly don't have a lot of experience with laundromats by definition. And so the industry sort of created its own, like I said, a little bit of an ecosystem for facilitating activity in the business. And increasingly, these captive lenders have made more options available when it comes to acquisition financing. And you can imagine that is more options come your way if you are also doing some kind of re-equipping, either partial or in total, upon your purchase of the business to kind of make that deal make more sense for those lenders. I said at the top, we're not going to find you seller financing, despite what you might see on social media. You can find it on occasion. It's just not a regular thing.
Yeah.
And usually when I come across seller financing, it means that there's a problem. Maybe the financials don't hold up to scrutiny from a conventional lender or even industry lender. Um, there's just no records or something like that might be in place where the seller is sort of forced to offer financing in order to facilitate a deal to an educated buyer. And again, most of this is going to require the down payments that I mentioned earlier. People often will bring on business partners or kind of use a combination of maybe all these resources to make the total project cost happen. And Yvette, I'll give you a word on financing if there's anything else you think we ought to be adding to that part of the conversation.
You hit it all. I can't think of anything else. It
Okay.
is probably one of the most challenging, or certainly one of the earliest challenges in being a laundromat owner is figuring out how to pay for it. I get calls from people who are so excited, and or people stop me in the store. I always want to have a laundromat, and then once they'll say, I have like $10,000 saved. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, that's not going to be enough,
Right.
probably
Right.
99.8% of the time to get you into this industry. So it's pretty capital intensive. And if you are able to get some partners, if that works for you, make sure you know them pretty well and you like them, then there that will certainly expand your possibilities. But
Yeah. And
yeah,
that's why we want to educate, right? Yvette, I was in a store recently and again had a customer walk up to me and kind of had that same 10 or 20,000. I said, well, this small washer itself is 10,000. And see that big washer, that's more than 20,000 for the washer
right.
itself. So, and again, people don't know what they don't know, and we're happy to be here to help educate and help people understand what the business is. But you're definitely going to need some dollars in order to make it happen. And again, as we promised at the top, we're going to tell you the truth. We love the business. We're going to encourage you. We're going to help you get there, but we're going to tell you like it is. So there's a bunch more questions. I'm going to roll through another slide or two, and then we'll really dig into the balance of these questions. I appreciate you guys sticking with us for the hour, and we got a little bit more time to work with, and
No.
we want to get you through on some more resources. But one of the things I think is helpful when people talk about, well, how much money can you make? Well, I think it's more important to kind of look at the kind of how the expense structure comes together. We just talked about valuation on a slide a moment ago, and due diligence was one of the points that I listed there. If these businesses are valued based on the net, therefore, verifying a dollar of income, it's just as important to verify the dollars on expenses, right? Because we're trying to get to a net. And in my experience, people tend to underestimate their expenses or underrepresent their expenses in these transactions as much as someone might try to inflate the income. So I want to give you some of these percentages that you can put to use. And this, again, comes from our annual benchmarking survey, which is a great resource for you as part of the association. And so uh, utilities, yeah, about 21% of every dollar in gross income is going to go toward paying the gas bill, the electric bill, the water bill. Newer stores with more efficient equipment can drive that down to 15% or maybe even a bit less. If you're looking
Mhm.
at one of these older stores, try to do this back of the envelope math first. You might find that a store is operating at 32% or 35% or 38% utilities, which is instructive. It may instruct you that there's an opportunity if there's an opportunity to reinvest in newer machines, but it also can be a red flag to Desiree's question earlier. That's one of the things you want to look for. Rent, as we've discussed, is super important. The median from our survey is right about 18% of gross. I think most of our members would kind of target that 20% range or thereabouts. Some could argue maybe you can go up as much as 25% in total lease costs, but obviously the lower the better, and making that store more valuable on that basis. And when it comes to payroll, there's a lot of different ways that people staff these locations. I know Yvette is more on that fully attended model and wants to have somebody there all the time taking care of customers. But for those that have regular attendance, that's going to be about 25%. I'm sorry, about 22% of gross. And most people love to keep that under 20% if they can, but not everybody is really in a position to do that. Minimum wages vary from location to location. You have some attendants that are just doing light janitorial and customer service. You have other attendants
Right.
that are processing wash, dry, fold, right? So, like a lot of things, it depends, but I just want to give you some guidelines to work with.
Sure. And what you mentioned here, and this is in line with our expenses too, is that payroll is the highest.
Right,
So
right.
that's a very expensive resource. It's well worth it to me, but it's really expensive. So recognize that and treat it as such.
Again, good
Yeah,
advice.
good.
So let's see what we have next here. And then I promise we're going to jump into some more of the questions. So again, that's why I wanted a little bit more of the statistical picture. And again, this doesn't mean you're going to make 323,000. That means that the median gross revenue for a store, then you need to pay utilities, payroll, um, uh, rent, and then a number of what I always call like the single digit expenses as a percentage of gross. The insurance, the internet, the parts and service. As your store gets older, that percentage goes up. So there's a lot of
Mhm.
things to handle there. And then from a net profitability standpoint, again, those are the averages and the mean that comes out of our survey. So give you some kind of baseline to work with that I think can be important for you. So um, the next slide I have is another very common question that comes up. So I just made a chart for you. Should I buy or should I build? Should I buy or should I build? Well, again, it depends. There's pros and cons to either approach. And just so you have a resource, I just kind of laid these out, so I won't read it back to you. But the gist of it is building new, latest and greatest, bright, shiny new, the latest with equipment and everything else. But that's where you're going to want to be. Um, Existing store, it's more of a known entity, probably a lower price point, but then you might have some of the inherited challenges that might come along with that. So just be aware that those are some of the things that you'll have to contend with. Leases, and leases. I think we beat it to death pretty well, but just we'll do it one more time. If the lease ain't right, it ain't gonna happen, right? Or shouldn't happen is a better way to put it. So make sure you do due diligence there, as Yvette described earlier. We have a lot of resources that can help you with that. Yes, use an attorney and really pay attention to the time remaining. If I'm looking at existing stores for sale, honestly, I'm asking about the lease before I'm asking about the net income. Because if the lease isn't right or can't be made right, then the rest of it is a moot point, if you're doing it the right way. And so, any other words of wisdom or nuggets, Yvette, when it comes to the leases?
No, I would say that you also would consider, if you don't love the lease, talking to the landlord or seeing if there's an opportunity to, like Brian said, maybe you can make it right. So maybe it's not perfect yet, but the landlord is interested in keeping somebody in that space, and maybe some are willing, and it never hurts to ask.
Right. And again, you can make an offer that's contingent upon, further conversations with the landlord, right?
Sure.
And try to get to a certain point. And don't forget that most of these leases are written in such a way that the landlord needs to approve you
Right.
to make that transaction happen. And sometimes it's even very specific. Well, the buyer must have an equal or greater net worth than the seller. There could be all kinds of contingencies that are in that. So really understand that well if you want to be successful going forward. Okay, well, I'm going to let you enjoy the spotlight screen. This is one of our video resources that we have available through the association. Great content. Yvette has been a subject of one of these. She's been a host, and there's a lot to learn. And someone mentioned in the chat that seeing your video, Yvette, got her on this call. So I
Oh, nice.
thought that was very
Thank
cool
you.
to see. And I'm just going to leave that up while we jump into some more questions. So let's see here. Thomas had asked about how do you determine if there's a need for an attendant, or is it better to keep the store unattended? So again, kind of the neighborhood matters, your scope of services matters, kind of your brand matters. Is this going to be kind of a no fuss, no muss laundromat, kind of get in, get out? Is this going to be more of an elevated experience with customer service that's obviously going to require attendance? If you're going to do wash, dry, fold, I mean, you need to have attendance to do
Right.
that. But the second part of your question, Thomas, is there a way to open and close without contact with the store? So yes, we have a lot of members, even those that are attended, because God bless our attendants. Maybe someone is late or someone doesn't show up for every
Right.
shift. So there are automatic locks. There's things you can calibrate to have the store open and close without direct hands-on. So that's a contingency that a lot of operators will put in place to ensure smooth operations, even if they're going to plan to be there or if they have their attendants planning to be there. Nick, another question. What are the most important things to focus on when purchasing a rundown store? Like I said, I think we kind of covered that pretty well, but it's just really understanding the true age of that equipment and how well it's been maintained and really understanding where you want to be. As Yvette said, she's self-taught. She makes repairs. She's incredible at it. Now
I
with
used to
five,
make repairs. The repairs anymore. But yeah, it does help
well,
to be able to do it, to know
yeah.
what is required. And
And this would be a good point to just mention is that as Yvette has grown to 5 stores, I know that you have a repair person that you contract with that is making the rounds and paying attention to repairs just to make sure that you have that maximum uptime.
yeah, actually, I have an employee now, and we
Employee now,
still
great.
actually work with other outside people to come in as needed when we need additional support. But
Mhm.
I think that's a good question about the rundown location. I would say that if you are at a rundown location or considering a rundown location and they still have customers in there, and sometimes you can be at a rundown location that's still surprisingly busy, that's probably a really good opportunity because people need to go there for some
Mhm.
reason. They're still there. And if you can take that place and polish it up and retool it, I would expect that in a situation like that, your income will really grow substantially and it would be a great investment.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it could spell opportunity and just it's got to
Mhm.
pencil out, right? In terms of
Absolutely.
and another thing to mention, folks, is that we certainly have plenty of members that have been successful with a sort of phased in retool that happens
Yeah.
over time. Some it just needs to be gutted out and it's a disaster. But you know what? I'm going to get the store up and running. Can I get my feet behind, under me? And then, I'm going to
Mhm.
replace this row of washers. And then next year, I'm going to replace half those dryers. And the year after that, I'm going to do this. So there are ways, but you have to have a plan and you have to have the cash flow and the access to financing to make that a reality. But yeah, a down store that's busy is definitely a opportunity that should catch your attention. Kristen, good. What would you consider a short or long time left on a lease? And again, there's open for argument. When I talk to our members, uh, they would probably say that if I was starting fresh, I'd want a 10-year initial term plus 2 or 3 5-year options. In other words, a 20 to 25-year total, not just to ensure the cash flow going forward, but you may want to sell at some point, right? And you want to have enough time left on the lease to make it attractive to a future buyer based on the same principles that we're sharing today. So um, the minimum, I would tend to put it at 10 years. Some others would put it at maybe as low as 8. But I'll put it this way, you're not going to get an 8-year loan with 7 years left on a lease, right? So you need to understand those factors. And in fact, most lenders are going to want at least a couple year cushion on that too, in order to make it happen. But if I had to just say it, I'd say 25 years on the high side, and a minimum of 10 on the low side. Desiree asked a similar question. How old is old equipment? All right, Yvette, I'll put you on the spot. What's old equipment to you?
Well, I think it can depend. If you have 10-year equipment that hasn't been maintained, it's going to look and feel really old. But I've seen some 18, 20-year equipment that has been extremely well maintained that doesn't feel as old.
Right.
So it really is about the maintenance level and how much that has been attended to that can determine that. But these machines are, it's not uncommon to see 20-year-old equipment.
Yeah,
It's not.
it's operating
Right.
well. And I think what Yvette's outlining is sort of an analogy to mileage on a car, right? Um, that's another thing that can happen with equipment. So equipment might be 12 years old, but if the store wasn't real busy or needed to be
Right.
run more hands-on, I mean, there could be more miles left on those machines, but it works the other way too. A store that's been slammed from day one, the equipment at 12 or 15 years may need a close look. So
Right.
not a precise science, but something you need to take a look at. All right, working my way through the Q&A box, and I'll try to work my way back to the chat because I see some of you are using that too. How much would you recommend to have liquid at the time of purchase for upfront costs at the time of purchase as a new operator? So again, I think that typical financing in that scenario, you would need at least that 30%. And you probably want to have a cushion there to help you do the things you need to do taking over as a new operator in terms of marketing and so forth.
Right. I
Lavanya,
would say
yes,
if you could, maybe 6 months of operating cash, if you could, that would
another
give
good way to look
you
at it.
the peace of mind that if you don't hit a home run right out the gate and you are like most operators where it's going to take a little while and have a ramp up period, you aren't panicking.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a good point, and I'm not surprised to see a bunch of these questions related to the finances, because
Yeah.
again, that tends to be the challenge. Lavandia, yeah, we're very happy to set up a consultation with you as a member. Thank you for being on the call and continuing your studious approach to the business. That's going to pay off. Um, Abhay asked about an expense ratio for maintenance and repair. This is a tough one. Some people make a bunch of repairs themselves. Some send it all out. Some have newer equipment that doesn't need a lot of help and is under warranty. Other people have 17-year-old, 18-year-old equipment. I mean, if I had to boil down to a number, I'd probably say 5 to 7% of gross would be, kind of a number that would be for a existing store, maybe a 10 or 12-year-old store, because you're going to need to buy parts on a regular, even just wear parts, forget things that are breaking down, but valves and belts and those kinds of things. So I don't know, is there a percentage that you try to aim for, Yvette, when it comes to repairs and maintenance as a percentage of gross?
Well, for a percentage of gross, maybe 5%. I was thinking about that when the question came up earlier.
Okay.
And I five, maybe a little higher. If you got older equipment, it can start inching up. And if you have to hire someone in to come and do your repairs, it could get even higher than that. When you are getting closer to, 7, 8, 9%, you may want to retool or consider how you are maintaining your equipment. Learn how to do more things on your own, or because every time you hire someone, when they cross my threshold, it's $500 check.
Yeah.
It's really expensive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Well, I'm going to share one or two more CLA resources, and I'm going to pop over to the chat and get into some more questions. We've got about 10 minutes to go. So yes, come see stories from our members telling their experiences at the CLA Spotlight channel. I think you'll get a lot out of it. There's a lot of great resources there on our channel. Another thing I want you to kind of bear in mind is that once you're up and running, and in the case of insurance, before you open, we've been able to use our strength in numbers as an organization to put together some business solutions. So we have a dedicated insurance program. All we do is write laundromats. We have essentially a full-time person that helps our members review and negotiate contracts for natural gas and electricity. Depending if you're in a state that is deregulated on those utilities, we can help find you a better deal. We have marketing solutions that can be helpful to you. We just announced a program with Gusto for payroll processing and HR services. So you get a feel for it. Wherever we can find an opportunity to pool our resources and get a better deal, we try to do that. One of our newer offerings is Laundry University. And so while this is really geared toward laundromat attendants, you are all new. And I bet you could benefit from doing some training, not just on wash, dry, fold, but just some basic attendant training. And this is something that put together by one of our members, and she's really put together a great program. And of course, the best prices are out there for CLA members when it comes to Laundry University. So again, these are all things you can find more about on the website. We have a incredible cohort of women when it comes to our women's laundry network. I can tell by some of the names here in the chat that we've got incredible amount of female entrepreneurs that are looking to get into the business. We have a group that works on this every month. There's some kind of programming, a webinar, a meetup, a happy hour. There are regular events for our Women's Laundry Network that I would turn you on to for sure.
Mhm.
In fact, with our premium conference coming up a little bit later this spring, there's going to be a full day conference specifically for our Women in Laundry Network. So when you look at that team photo from one of our earlier sessions, I see Yvette's in there, but also a lot of new investors. So if you're looking to plug in, if you're looking to get a mentor, this would be a great resource for you to tap into. And it's coming up as part of our Excellence in Laundry event coming up in May down at the beach in Hilton Head. So this is where you're going to find the who's who of the laundry business, the multi-store operators, and I can say with very strong certainty that some of our new investors that have really stretched and came to this event have really accelerated their process by rubbing elbows with the best of the best. And so I just wanted to put that on your radar. Again, our website has all the upcoming events. In fact, we have some what we call CLA Connect Live events coming up, usually at least two a month somewhere around the country. We're getting together for a meetup of local laundromat professionals, store owners, new investors. I just was at one week before last in Fort Lauderdale. Great mix of multi-store owners with newbies, with vendors and distributors, just a great way to get acclimated. And so there's an ongoing calendar at our website that can help you even further. And as was mentioned earlier, I'm certainly available to help you at any point in time with a consultation as part of becoming a member. And again, look at me as sort of a consolidated resource. I can make referrals, refer you to other resources, make introductions, whatever you might need to help you along the way. And I appreciate the kind endorsement earlier from Yvette. And so I'm going to leave the membership screen up here where you can tap into becoming a member. If you're serious about moving forward, it's a $500 commitment on an annualized basis to be a member and spend a few $100s before you spend a few $100,000. You know, put your hands on the best resources, plug into the community, and we'll take good care of you. So I'll leave that up and we're going to jump into a couple of these remaining questions, Yvette, to see how many we can squeeze in.
Sounds
Christina,
good.
Christina was asking about what does age play into starting a laundromat? I mean, we see a full array of people, different backgrounds, the 20 somethings, the 50 somethings, the 60 somethings, and everything in between. We see people that are established in their careers and are looking to build something that might serve them in retirement. So it really just comes down to your entrepreneurial drive and honestly, what kind of cash resources you can bring to the table to make it happen.
And your energy level, because you probably all know some old 20-year-olds and some young 70, 80-year-olds.
No doubt.
So yeah, it's good to have a good amount of energy wherever you land on that spectrum.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, Eric, I see you in the chat. I'll reach out to you from our team and see about getting you the wash, dry, fold resource as well as those clean show videos. But thanks for putting that up there. Deidre is asking, what defines a perfect location? Huh. Well, it's a good thing we only have a few minutes left, you bet, because we could go on forever about that. But what are the first two or three things that pop into your mind when you think about a perfect location?
Um, where there are a lot of people, a lot of apartments around. I love to have a Dollar Tree close by or another store that invites and welcomes similar demographic people. That would be right up there. And good parking. Oh my goodness,
Parking is
parking. I
huge.
don't know if we talked about parking, but if you can have a store that's beautiful and no place for people to leave their car and get close to the door with what you hope will be loads and loads of dirty laundry, then it's going to make your store way less attractive to another one that does have those things.
You know, and again, we all pick up these adages over time. If they can't park,
Yep.
they can't wash, right? And so sometimes you see a store for sale. That's something that comes up in our diagnostic conversation. Well, there's only 5 parking spots. Well, that means only
I'm not
five
good.
families can do laundry at any one given time. So, that really becomes an important consideration. And remember, these locations don't exist in a bubble either, right? You have no competitors, you'll have 6 competitors. You'll
Right.
have 6 competitors, 5 are lousy, 1 is amazing. I mean, so you really have to look at the full picture to really drill down on all of that. So I think
And the
we've.
price that they're asking, because that's a pretty broad question. Is it an existing
Mhm,
location, or are you thinking about a location to build your own store? An ideal location would be one that you can afford, one
mhm,
that's in
mhm,
put you in a situation where you can be profitable earlier. And oh, as far as parking, we had a location that was in a nice plaza, but the parking situation in the front was not what I loved. I thought it was okay. There was a lot of parking, but it was after the first 2 rows of cars.
mm,
And we were able to open up the back entrance. There was a parking lot back there that
mm,
is like
mhm.
not used by anybody except us. And that made a huge difference. That was what took me off the line from wanting that location or not, when I realized that we could make a really nice entrance in the back. We put a mural back there, and we have almost unlimited parking in the back of the store, but it wasn't what you saw when you came. So um, be
That's a
creative.
real
Mhm.
good insider tip. If you can have parking right up front, that's great, but don't forget to look if there's an opportunity to have a second entrance and have some rear parking. That could be a real hack to help more people get in and out of your store, especially during
Absolutely.
those peak periods, right? On Saturdays and Sundays or Friday nights or Monday nights, when it's busy, you need to have that parking in place. And so,
Mhm.
well, Christina, she loved your answer because energy is something she has a great deal of, and now she's going to get to work on the finances. So go
Good.
go for it, Christina, and we're available to help you along the way. Lavandia, we'll just reach out to you directly, so you don't have to do any homework on that. I'll make sure we reach out to you and get you that opportunity to book some time with us. And with that, I'm sure in the chat you'll agree that Yvette, thank you so much. You've been so generous with your time and experience and talking about the business and telling it like it is. We really can't thank you enough for all of that, and a great example of all the talent and the enthusiasm we have for the business here at the association. So thank you so much again for your time and
It
engagement.
is my pleasure to be here. I am always surprised that you keep asking me back, but as long as you think I'm providing value, am happy to do it. And I'm so happy to see people that are taking advantage of this program, because it wasn't available. You couldn't sit at your desk and hear from an expert like Brian for an hour and a half as you are making a decision that will have so much impact on you and your family for so many years. So kudos to all of you for joining. And I'm
Yeah,
happy to
thank
be
you
here.
all.
Thank you. I hope to
Yeah.
see some of you at the conference in Hilton Head.
Yep. Yeah, no, absolutely. And thank again, I echo that. Thank you all for doing this. I rather work with people on the front end when they can learn and avoid
Yeah.
mistakes. I hate getting those calls after the fact where they reach out
Mhm.
after one of these issues has come up, and we'll do our best to help you, but let's get it right on the front end, and we're ready to help you do that. So we do this every month. If those of you want another dose, we do this on a monthly basis as a free service to the industry. We will get you the recordings, and those of you that had asked for some specific items as members, I'll make sure we get that followed up with you today as well. And we'll see y'all next time. Thanks again, Yvette.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Audio Jungle.